It is time to ask yourself, what has like got to do with it? What has the amount of likes got to do with performance? They are two different things. People can like you, they will have confidence in you, but you may be unable or unwilling to provide what they need to help them become the best version of themselves. And as we've come to learn, if you want to change or if you are becoming uncomfortable with a particular experience, the best thing for you to do is to step in to the gap, not to ask somebody to do it for you. And that's what happened in some states in Nigeria during the last general elections. It happened in Yobe State. Lawal stepped in. It happened in Plateau State. It was time for Mrs. Matthews. It happened again in Kwara State, where at the moment we have the youngest, we can't say politician, but we'll say the youngest politician who has been elected. She is a member of the Kwara State House of Assembly. She's Ramat. So we can call those upsets. Now it's time to take a close look at the election hangover. For most of us, it's done. It's time to look at what's going to happen after. We can take a look, and because we know that it's not too young for many of them to run, they decided to make that change because they can. Welcome, it's Weekend Deal. My name is Thelma Obaza. What makes our program tick? You can help us dot the I's and the T's is when you be part. We always love to hear from you, WhatsApp messages or text messages, and it's no different today. Weekend Deal. It's time to touch base with Francis, who has been doing some analytical and in-depth chat with people who know, who are in politics, and who can give us authentic information. Francis, your background feature is now. Let's see what you found.
The 2023 elections have come and gone. While some are celebrating their victories, others are heading to the courts. And a few other contestants have called and congratulated the winners. The need for winners in the just concluded elections to be magnanimous in victory cannot be overstated.
The winners must be magnanimous in victory because it's all about the people. It's not about you. It's not about the position. It's just that the position gives you a platform to be able to serve the people. So if you are going to serve the people, if the victory is to serve the people, why must it lead to burning of houses? Why must it lead to, causing of chaos in the society? You have to rein in your supporters and let them know that, look, this is actually now a bigger burden on our shoulder. So you have to be magnanimous in victory by saying, look, thank you for those who voted for us. Thank you for those who did not vote for us. We have a nation to build. We have a people to serve. Let's come together and let's make this happen.
For anyone, therefore, to be going around and, as we say, doing buka and saying, now we win, now them lose, you go they pain them, you go they sweet us. You are not a mother. You are not paternal as a leader. You are not a patriot.
One of the surprises of the just concluded elections was the emergence of some young entrants into the political space. In Kwara State, for instance, a 26-year-old young lady emerged winner of the Kwara State House of Assembly election. And in Yobe State, a 35-year-old young man emerged victorious over a long-serving politician who has been in the State House of Assembly for over 20 years. What does this portend for Nigeria's democracy?
I was happy, a girl of 26, Kwara State Assembly. We've gotten one in terms of gender, so I think we should applaud the government of Kwara State. Another youth who is a man from Yobe, and Ironically, it is APC government that have brought them on board. And I'm so happy with that, and I strongly believe that other states should emulate what has happened in Kwara and in Yobe. And that one in Yobe is so intriguing because the guy he unseated was the speaker, not once, not twice. So it goes a long way to now know that if the Nigerian youth are standing on the political platform to run for a government, to run for an office, they will make it.
What made the guy in Yobe to win is protest. Because some of the things that our leaders do, people don't like them. But because there's nobody to challenge them, it continues like that. So this gentleman, he was a victim of some of the policies of the man that has been there all this while. And he said, look, I can take you home. So we need to encourage our young people to come out.
The Nigerian youth have made it clear and strong. They have articulated the fact that enough is enough. Nigerian youth have served principle across dispensations. And all they have to understand now, they don't need any old driver to drive what in them is new. Next time you want to go for it, get one of your own. Which is why I celebrate Lawan in Yobe State. What happened? Nigeria has come to that point. An old order has been taken over.
The results from the recent National Assembly polls leave much to be desired, as the number of women that will have seats in the 10th National Assembly will be less than those in the current 9th Assembly. For instance, all the female senators currently in the Senate lost their re-election bids, with only 3 women elected to the Red Chamber and 14 women elected into the Green Chamber. What happened to the 35% affirmative action?
It's not a good thing. We've been shouting and craving for the 35% affirmative action, which Nigeria was a signatory to that treaty. Unfortunately, we were not able to domesticate it. Even in the Constitution, we tried it, even when I was in the House and even in the Senate, but it didn't see the light of the day. And one area, critical area, I said, look, it is not about we that are in the parliament today. It's about the future of our girl child outside there.
Women allow themselves to be used by men in politics. The people that vote the most are the women. They are the ones that vote. If you get to any polling unit and begin to count people one by one, it's the women that you see that will vote the most. But you know what? These women allow men to dictate to them who to vote for and who not to vote for. If women don't support women, who will? Who will? Women should support women so that women will succeed in Nigeria.
Concerning women and the National Assembly, it's the first time in Nigeria we're going to be having a First Lady, 3-time senator. And her going into the Senate was also with the impetus of her husband's blessing. That same leader with this First Lady, there is no question that what was done for his wife will be done for any woman who chooses to stand in a place of leadership by elective or appointive distinction.
While some of the winners of the just concluded elections are still in the hangover mode, it is of utmost importance to remind them all that leadership is not a tea party.
Everybody knows that Nigeria is facing 2 or 3 major issues. One is insecurity, 2 is poverty, 3rd is unemployment. So these 3 agenda, if anybody, the incoming, be it at the federal, state or local, they should look at those 3 angles. If your state is not secured, you will not have foreign investors that will come in, bring in their investment and have an issue reducing the rates of unemployment.
The task of nation building is a collective responsibility. Therefore, all hands must be on deck towards making Nigeria greater and better. Weekend Deal today is captioned Election Hangover.
It's the hangover of the elections, the general elections, presidential, National Assembly, governorship, as well as states' houses of assembly, concluded in February and in March. And all the gist is being unveiled, and we're sharing it And if you're hearing it here, you can be sure that it's authentic. Let's introduce our guest before we launch our next feature. Ikenna Uzoka is a good governance advocate and a technology consultant.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. Good morning, Nigerians.
It's
Good
great
morning,
to
viewers.
have you. Good to have you with us. You know that in the 9th Assembly, we had 8 female senators. Some worked assiduously, locally, and also here we saw them. They had work here at the FCT, but amazingly, not one was returned, although we have 3 female senators. They are all new. Well, Dayola was on the trail of this upset. Let's see what Dayo brings for us.
Recently concluded general elections in Nigeria is the poor representation of women in the 10th National Assembly. Though experts already question the gender imbalance in the 2019 general elections, the scenario the 2023 National Assembly election has thrown up is even more worrisome. Data revealed that out of the 1,101 candidates that vied for the 109 senatorial seats, 92 were women, representing 8.35%, while 288 women contested for the House of Representatives seat out of the total 3,122 candidates, representing 9.22%. However, only 3 women won the Senate seats. They are Ireti Kingibe of Labour Party, FCT, Idiat Adebole of APC, Lagos, and Ipalibo Harry Banigo of PDP, Rivers State. 15 women also won the election into the House of Representatives, namely Obi Orobu of Labour Party in Anambra State, Maureen Kwacham of APGA, Anambra, Chinwe Nabuife of YPP, Anambra, Akume Regina, APC, Benue, Buka Abba Ibrahim Khadija of APC, Yobe State, amongst others.
Rather than spend time crying about the many of us that did not make it, let us organize, lobby, strengthen, consolidate the few who have, and then strengthen ourselves who have the courage even to step in to the process. Honestly, for those who fought such an amazing fight to resist the status quo of political error in the Nigerian elective process and political antecedents, I salute them.
The Senate winners list show that all 3 new female senators-elect will be the first-timers in the red chambers since the current 7 female senators lost their re-election bids. Interestingly, Senator Stella Otua, PDP Anambra State, would top the chart of bill sponsorship in the 9th Senate with 36 bills to her credit, as well as the third in line, Senator Uche Lilian Ekwonife, PDP Anambra State, with 22 bills, would not be returning to the red chambers, meaning that all the legislative experiences have gone with them.
The whole political process was implicated by the scenarios that came about with a Third Reich. Principally, we've only had the 2 ruling parties and every other party. And all of a sudden it was the 2 ruling parties and then an opposition. It wasn't even about an opposition party, an opposition tsunami. And what everybody took for granted politically with political snobbery became a lesson everyone has learned.
In spite of the continuous clamor for improvement in women participation in the affairs of the nation, it is evident that the clamor has been chuckled down as mere rhetoric. Many reasons has been floated for the decreasing number of women in elective positions in Nigeria, with finance as the major obstacle. Political parties, therefore, must fashion ways to subsidize the financial expectations from women aspirants and candidates to improve the quality, quantity, and inclusion of women in Nigerian politics.
In research there, it's always a pleasure to listen to Mrs. Dayo Benjamin Lani. She delivers and she's authentic. She ran for Senate in the FCT. She did not win, and she's telling us what happened. That there was this tsunami, not just an opposition. In fact, some will say it hit us in areas we least expected. Let's talk about that, Ikenna Uzoka. The young people seem to be taking their seats. They'll be slow to act, but it does seem like they are stepping out as voters and then again as elect.
Well, it's really interesting times, or these are really interesting times in Nigeria. The report, this just aired report, was quite shocking to me to see that majority of the women in the Senate had lost their seats.
None came back.
Yeah, none came back. It's quite shocking. I think young people and women make up a significant portion of our population in Nigeria, and they need to be represented by fellow women. I think what the political parties have done in their own way has helped in terms of reducing barriers for women to contest for elective offices, but they could do more. They could actually make these forms free. They could actually allow a firm quota system that gives women a seat at the table, a defined and definite seat at the table, beyond just the rhetoric, beyond saying your forms are cheaper and then you come into this.
Some parties give the forms out for free.
Okay, well, for those parties it's commendable, but I think the major parties in Nigeria, vis-a-vis the PDP, APC, and now, if you will, the third force, which is the Labour Party, the Tsunami Party, which is the Labour Party, I think could also do more to give women a platform to contest for.
But perhaps we can talk to the women as well, because it does seem as though some women don't make themselves available. We know that Dayo did. We know that Mrs. Ireti Kinjibe did. They stepped out, and we heard Dayo saying she commends those who were able to come out, because it does seem to take an uncommon type of courage, wouldn't you say? If we say Nigerian women are formidable in terms of numerical strength, so we have the number, why are they not coming out? We have just 18 women in the National Assembly with over 400 members.
I don't think it's a lack of courage on the side of women. I just think that the environment, the political environment, has this tendency of being too rough at times for women. There's this desperation that people have, and you wonder why, because it's for service. I think that, again, we should deliberately create channels and pathways for women to get involved in politics. That's my own position on that.
It's interesting to note, because when we talk about courage simply means against all odds. And even if it seems daunting, and like we saw Dayo did not win this time, but from the way she's comporting herself, she's not beaten. So that I mean by courage, come out. Don't just wait for everything to be right so that you can perform optimally.
Yes.
If it's right for you to perform, then others will also avail themselves of that opportunity. But we're still talking about, it's not just about the women. It's about Nigeria, the growth, and the process pattern. We go to Benin. They also talk about the politics, the upside, the status quo, what ought to change. And they're doing it authentically as usual.
Credibility, accountability, and capacity to move the state to greater heights, amongst other grounds, remains the expectation of the electorate as party candidates battle for the 24 seats of the State House of Assembly elections.
It is our right to ask for accountability. It's expected that every member of the House of Assembly should do the right thing, should make laws that are not anti-people, should make laws for the people.
What people want to see is a virile, active, and robust conversations taking place on the floor of the House on behalf of the people.
The legislators should remember that, yes, they are the closest arm of government to the people, which is saddled with the responsibility of making adequate laws that can cater for our basic needs in Edo State.
The electorate insists that all must work on their responsibilities as lawmakers, ensuring good policies that will promote development at all levels of governance.
We are looking forward to a House of Assembly that when an issue concerns the populace, they will call for a public hearing and create a room for a robust deliberation or discussion upon which where they can draw facts. And then their representation will be seen as a true representation of the people.
The 24 House of Assembly members that will be duly elected in Edo State should first go to their constituents to hold a random town hall meeting with their constituents, to have a need assessment with with the content of a town hall meeting, to actually know what these constituents really want.
Reiterating this stance, respondents say elected leaders and lawmakers should conscientiously focus on areas that affect the people in their constituencies, while also introducing bills that will impact on the citizenry.
I look forward to an assembly that will sit and look at the pains of the people, not being an addendum of an executive arm of government.
Policies that will promote education and health coverage, irrespective of whether you have the money or not, irrespective of your backgrounds.
We need an enabling environment. A lot of people need power to either run their businesses, either run their company. The House of Assembly can come up with a law to favor the people and say, as a service provider, if you do not provide social service for the people, because that's why you are there, social thing will be your sanction.
They do like to come out and vote to ensure that we have legislators who can boldly beat their chest to actually pass good laws that will actually promote the growth and development of Edo people.
We are urging the legislators for the House of Assembly election to be ready to not just serve or represent themselves, to serve and represent the constituents which elected them into the Edo State House of Assembly.
This last assembly, they have passed the disability bill into law. So I'm now looking up to those that will be coming to make sure that that law is properly documented and implemented.
From being there, there's a talk about the disability bill, as well as the actionable performances and behaviors of those elected into the Edo State House of Assembly. We're talking with Ike Nauzoka. Just a comment on what we just saw. Let's relate it to the 8 women who didn't return in the upper house. We heard earlier from Dayo that Senator Odua sponsored over 30 bills and Senator Ekwinife over 20, almost 25. So if the amount of bills you sponsor don't stand you out enough for you to be returned again and again, what does?
I think this is a function of public enlightenment and the expectations that most of the electorate have on people in different offices. So the legislature is there to make laws to better the lives of Nigerians, to help in different areas of development. But the expectation sometimes, so you see someone like distinguished Senator Stella Odua or distinguished Senator Uche Kwinife, they had good work done in the Senate, but maybe the expectations of them from the electorate were to build roads, to have transformers installed in the local communities, to build schools. So these are outside of what they do, but unfortunately, that's how they are measured. So we have to begin to change that. We have to let the public understand the roles that legislators have. The role they play is more of lawmaking to help the country develop from a national level. But the expectations on them are a bit
So
different.
we need to know what they are there to do. Or can it be a bit that the young people say, we know you have done well, let us also come and try our hands? Or is it also about the tsunami, the third force?
Well, I don't want
Altogether.
I don't want to go into conjecture, because right now I think they are from different parties compared to where the tsunami was coming from. But I think it's safe to say that the way we assess them is not quite how they should be assessed. That's number one.
Okay.
And then number two, of course, there's a movement, and it sort of affected them as well.
Interesting. That's not to say that they have not done well. Perhaps their experience, will be utilized in
Absolutely.
other areas. We're talking about election hangover. The whole world sat and watched in awe when we saw some things change. They were upset. We know that some senators who had been in the upper house,
Yes.
5 terms, 4 terms, were asked to please take a back seat. We will need you in an advisory capacity for now, but permit us to come in and handle some seats as well. We saw what happened in Yobe State. Lawal ousted his speaker, two-time speaker.
Yes.
He's just 35. We saw what happened in Kwara State. Rukayat, 26 years. We saw what happened in Jos, in Plateau State. Another young lady too, stepped in. So perhaps we can talk about young people thinking, I know you've done your best, but we think if given the opportunity, perhaps we can do some things differently that really impact the youths.
Yes, I think right now there has been an awakening, unlike ever before, unlike ever since 1999. We've not seen this level of political consciousness of young people. They're really interested in the affairs of the country. They're no longer leaving it to someone else to do. They're getting involved at every level, and this includes the women as well. I think we might even want to take a deeper look at how many women actually participated in the elections, not those that got elected, but the number of women that actually participated, because it would be instructive. I think a lot of people have decided to take their country back. If I'll use figure of speech. I think many people are no longer sitting on the sidelines.
They want to be active participants.
Exactly. They want to be active participants in government. They want to hold government more accountable. So, and they think also that being part of government will allow them take better control of the situation.
Some have said that we ought not to do away with years of tried and tested experience and bring little known, little tried, little tested hands, that it may hinder that progress that we so anxiously seek in different areas. What is your take?
Experience is a function of results. So if someone has experience at not getting things done right, then what's the value of that experience? So you don't throw away everything, of course. There are people who bring years of technical experience, years of know-how, but again, the results are speaking. And that's where people are trying to get involved. So that's really all about that. You can't have a process that is not giving the right results and then you talk about experience. Experience has to be commensurate with the results.
So yes, it goes beyond how many terms you have sat, or how old you are,
yes,
or how long you have called yourself a politician. Some also say that a leader that people will eagerly follow is one who truly understands that he or she is actually a servant.
Yes, absolutely. And, this is the big question. You raised a very, very important question. Leadership is about service. If you come into a place and there's work to be done, you don't see many people jostling to do it. You find people, then you find someone who comes forward and says, I'll do this work. So that's exactly how it is. We are in a situation, if you will, where the leadership doesn't really view themselves the right way, view themselves as true servants of the people.
Let me take a message before we continue our talk. Akinola is from Ilorin in Kwara State. He always sends in his contribution. Great to hear from you. He said, with some of the results recorded in the last election, it shows clearly that our democracy is witnessing great development, and in fact, more success will come like a landslide. Thank you, Akinola Ololade, reaching us from Ilorin, Kwara State. So rather than naysayers saying young people may not have what it takes, we should remain optimistic and throw our weight behind them as much as we can. We heard Dayo say earlier, she ran on behalf of the APC. So she ran for Senate in the FCT. She did not win, but she's not daunted, because she was talking about, even if we have only 18 women in the National Assembly, that should not stop the volume of support and push that they get. How can women, for example, or other people who are interested in Nigeria's growth and development throw their weight behind those 18 women?
Naturally, it would be just to support them, to give them ideas. If they are accessible, many Nigerians have yearnings that are similar. We want the same things. We want stable electricity. We want good roads. we want security. So these are all, we all have shared similar desires as Nigerians. And I think they should listen to Nigerians. They should look at this opportunity to serve as a way to listen to Nigerians, to stay in tune with their electorate and be able to deliver on the promises of development. So that's number one. Number two, and I would like to just touch on this briefly because, we are just coming from an election, a lot of frayed nerves, the first thing that we have to be thankful for is that there has been an electoral act. There's now a new platform that is technology driven. Then we can begin to tinker with it. Rome wasn't built in a day. So there are some good things and there are some areas that need to be improved. The three areas that we tried to fix in the Electoral Act, the last Electoral Act, which was the area of identifying the voters, so you don't have anyone coming in from another place, to the wrong place. So we had the beavers to do that, which did very well. And then we had the area of being able to accredit those voters, in a technology-driven way. And then lastly, we needed to send the results, electronically. So there are some areas that need to be, updated. Rejigged. And, for those that won, congratulations to them. We can see, like the governor of Oyo State, a lot of jubilation there. And I think his results are speaking for him as well. And I think that's what the young people... And he did
say that in spite of the commendable efforts put in the first term, he intends to do even more
work,
since we're given another opportunity. Some will say oftentimes the second term is time to relax. I've done all the hard work.
Right. No. I think he has the right attitude. Like he said, the reward for hard work or good work is more work. So if you find yourself as one of the bright stars in your organization, you find that a lot of work will be coming to you as well because you're doing well.
Okay, let's talk about being magnanimous in victory. Someone talked about across the divide. That's invite even members of other parties, even those that ran against you. How often have we seen that play out in Nigeria?
I think it plays out. Many times it plays out behind the scenes because our Nigerian political class often come from the same backgrounds. They're often, friends. They have relations with each other or relationships with each other. So that happens on the background. But I think it should be more deliberate, especially when you have close races. You need to realize that in some countries you have a shadow government, so it will be the closest to you. And then you can begin to have them hold you accountable or, be more deliberate about how they participate because they also represent a significant portion of your electorate.
Interesting. Sonny Omeye from Unsuka says, our nascent democracy is no doubt fledgling, but it can develop faster if we deepen the involvement of youths and the female folk. We have the 35% affirmation. We're not seeing it play out. And we talked earlier, you were of the opinion that people, they need to, it's not that women lack courage, but the supporting, or we need to create a more enabling environment. I am of slightly different opinion. I believe that you hit the ground running. Your enthusiasm, your excitement, your vigor will speak. Yeah. And it's not the first time you run that you just may win.
Yeah, I agree. Women should be encouraged to, hit the ground running. But there's some things that are kind of cliche. When you say pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you realize that someone has to even give you boots to wear.
Interesting.
So I think we really have to look at it in a more deliberate way. If we have this 35% affirmative action of participation for women, we should stick to it. We should stick to it in every area of government. We should allow more women commissioners. We should allow more women ministers. We should be more deliberate about it.
And even when somebody has what it takes and people see it, we can actually motivate that person verbally and otherwise to say, you have what it takes. We will rally behind you and give you the push that is necessary. Interesting dimension. Now, Ijoma has been unrelenting in pursuance of how the Not Too Young to Run bill and the youths themselves are impacting our election process and by association democracy in Nigeria. Ijoma, tell us more.
Nigeria's political landscape is evolving following the passing into law the Not Too Young to Run bill by the National Assembly in 2018. The law, which is aimed at relaxing some of the stringent and discriminatory provisions of the Constitution regarding the age limit for contesting elective offices in Nigeria, has set the platform for more youth participation and subsequent election into political offices.
Since then, we saw, for instance, in the 2019 election, there was attempt by young people to participate in the process. 34% of young people benefited from the parties that fielded candidates. 34% benefited from this campaign. One was even, at some point, the Speaker of the House of Representatives. We also got another one also in Plateau State, one also in Kaduna, and the likes that benefited from this bill. In addition to that, also, a lot of young people, especially young women, also benefited through the application of the Not Too Young to Run bill.
As political gladiators continue to count the seats they lost and gained against opposition, we noted that out of the 15,336 candidates on the ballot, about 4,398 of them were youth candidates, while 1,899 of this figure are between the ages of 25 to 30 years.
We thought this for us is not going to be an easy process. We thought it's going to be a gradual injection and also a gradual acceptance, especially from the older generation, to the effect that you need to create that balance between the old and the new in piloting the affairs of Nigeria's democracy.
While we continue to monitor the outcome of the polls, we could also see young persons like 26-year-old Rukayat Shitu win the Kwara State House of Assembly seat, making her the youngest lawmaker in the state. Plateau State also recorded another young woman, Happiness Matthew Akanwu, also defeating the incumbent Speaker of Plateau State House of Assembly to clinch the seat for the Pengana State constituency in the State House of Assembly. Elsewhere in Yobe State, 35-year-old Lawan Musa also defeated the incumbent Speaker of Yobe State House of Assembly, Honorable Ahmed Lawan, who has been on the seat for about 20 years now. Young Musa will be representing Ngurutu constituency in the State House of Assembly.
That also tells us the power of the vote, the power of resilience, the power of also community action or competitive action, especially, or the competitive spirit that we see in these young persons. Not even limiting to these two states, even states like Delta State and the likes. We saw the daughter of the incumbent governor also getting lucky and also emerging in Delta State. So there are a lot of them. We are documenting all of these progresses as we receive them.
As young people continue to engage and influence the political narrative of Nigeria, there are also expectations from the electorates.
I think the one thing that we keep hearing that is also very concerning is the fact that these young people don't have experience. Those people that were there, somebody also gave them the chance, somebody believed in them. And we shouldn't also be talking about this if the older generation had done their work well. The experience will come gradually on the job, but with the little that they are also bringing to the job, they have to understand that first they are there for the people and they have to do everything that is right by the people.
The 2023 general elections may have come and gone, but the lessons learned from the exercise is predicting that the leadership tides will be tilting towards youth participation in the next general elections.
Some have said that the youths are now awake. The youths are stepping out, and they just want to step out and stand there. They want to step out and step forward into active and deliberate participation in Nigeria's growth process. They want to be intentional. We saw Plateau State, a young lady ousted the speaker. Happened again in Yobe. Lawal did same with his speaker, and we saw Rukayat in Kwara State step up. In fact, some argue that she may be the youngest elected politician in Nigeria as we speak.
I think that's all of this is fantastic for Nigeria's development and democracy. I think that young people now, with the bill is more, the bill is commendable, but it's also a publicity type of bill. So it got youths listening again, it got them engaged in the process, and I think that we're seeing the results right now.
They are actually not too young to run. Let me take one or two messages and then we'll go on a break. Someone is just saying, you didn't tell us who you are, where you are reaching us from. You say, great program. It has fantastic impact. You say, may God bless Nigeria. Prophet Emmanuel Imona from Edo State says, every elected personality should be able to put Nigeria and Nigerians first. Above all, they should be driven by the fear of God, and they should know that they are elected to serve and not to plunder. They say, God bless Nigeria.
Amen.
Talking about the chief servant kind of thing. Kabiru Dancer says 2023 general election shows that our democracy is progressing. We pray to see more of same. We'll go on a break. Stay with us. We'll be back. You're watching Weekend Deal. We're talking about the hangover, elections hangover, that is. How vital is grassroots politics?
I think grassroots politics is the nucleus of the whole political structure, because at the end of the day, governance is supposed to get down to the most, basic level of operations of government is at the grassroots. So it's very important.
So let's see what Makodi did if they agree with your analysis of the vital ingredient that grassroots politics brings to bear, not just on the elect, but also on the electorate.
With complex and dynamic political system in Nigeria, the average expectation of leadership qualities differ and require understanding of critical challenges expected in better leadership and good governance.
For leaders to deliver, they have to have adequate knowledge of the circumstances within which they are leading. After having sufficient knowledge of what is ought to be done, they have to have the ability to take decisions that will be translated into policy. And the leader have to be involved fully in the process of decision-making and implementation processes before delegating the powers and responsibilities. You have to have resources sufficiently required for the execution of the outcome of the given target. The people to whom the powers are delegated to in order to achieve what is supposed to be achieved will have to have absolute confidence on the leadership ability of their boss.
Honestly, there is a development in my local government, constructing a road network from the main road to Balabaya, my village, and the whole of his constituency, Biu, Bayo, Kwayakusara, Shani, all of them. We have road network there. We have solar network in the town.
In addressing political functionalities at local government and community levels, citizens often expect transformative results that interface with urban and rural infrastructural achievements at the grassroots level.
All the problems in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, social, political, and otherwise, tend to emanate from inability for the local governments to effectively function within their statutory responsibilities. The local government was developed within the principles of federation, that it is the lowest level of government at the grassroots, connecting the people. And it is the place that will identify resources, both human and material, that will be marshaled for development. And the wisdom of developing the power down to the local tiers was to create a sense of belonging with a view to carrying the citizens along without any discrimination by giving them a sense of belonging.
Local government should have a full autonomy. That's the center. That's basically the point of development. I understand the grassroots levels.
However, emerging challenges and solutions would continually remain and be shared across the present and future tiers of democratic government.
And that's from Maiduguri. They're talking about leadership qualities that people should possess. The youths are emerging. Do they possess it? The vitality that grassroots politics brings to the table. Local governments must be integrated into the political space such that they perform effectively, and from there, other tiers can grow. Ikena, tell us more.
So, Nigeria is a federal, it runs a system of federalism. So where you have the federal government, the state government, and the local government. So there are 3 levels of government that are supposed to impact people. Unfortunately, in the last 20 or 30 years, we have really lost contact with the local government. You see, the local government brings the government closest to the people. That's where in all of the rural areas, like we mentioned, the grassroots, people can connect with government from they can walk into the local government council office, interact with their local councillors, let them know their problems. Like you see today, people are looking at the federal government, looking at the senators, the House of Reps members to bring basic amenities to them, which is wrong. They're supposed to go to the local government. Local governments are supposed to have autonomy. And then when you look at the system that we're running as well today, we're not really operating at the optimal level of federalism that we should. We have this issue of concurrent list, exclusive list, some things that shouldn't be touched by the state or the local government. And this brings about some issues. For instance, security. We all know that the constabulary system that we operate in Nigeria, which we copied from the British, is no longer functional here. Even in Britain, if you go to a train station in the UK, they have police for the train station. They are dedicated to the train station. If you go to a university campus.
So let's be more intentional.
Yeah, we have to be very, very deliberate about devolving power, reducing some of the power at the center so that Nigerians can get the benefits of all the things they have. You see, like mining, another issue. If you find crude oil in your backyard, it belongs to the federal government.
And you are saying it ought not to...
It ought not to be.
To be so?
Yes, yes.
So it should be the states who give what they want to the federal.
Absolutely.
But let's come back to our thrust. In summation now, the election hangover, we have seen upsets. We have seen people becoming intentional, youths being deliberate about walking their talk and being actionable about their thoughts. Let us surmise, and perhaps you can foresee into what the next 4 years may hold for us as a people.
Thanks so much for that question. I think that this election was sort of a watershed time for Nigeria. We've had a lot of issues about governance, people in government. Why is it that you have good people, well-intentioned, but when they get into government, something changes? They're not able to fulfill their promises. They're not able to do the work they said they would do. So there's a systemic problem that we need to address. And then beyond that, you see, Nigerians in this particular election, for the first time, we had a very strong third force in the Labour Party that we all saw. And the groundswell which even the lady that contested for Senate spoke about. The reality is that Nigerians coalesced behind one party or person because he embodied what they think should be the next phase of Nigeria's development. And you saw that with the youth engagement, unprecedented number of registrations, unprecedented number of turnout. But unfortunately, we had a lot of glitches, especially in terms of the electoral body being able to tighten up their processes, especially with PVC collection, as well as the electronic transmission of the votes. But
so what's next for us?
Well, right now there are some things that are in court. We have to see how all of the legal proceedings, which rightfully so should play out. And after that, I think we have seen now a serious engagement. The youth should not be taken for granted. Young people, old people, all of Nigerians are really serious about government. Whoever gets sworn into government should remember that Nigerian people will hold them accountable at the highest level.
Thank you very much, Ikenna Uzoka, good governance advocate and technology consultant.
Thank you so much.
It's been great having you,
Thank you.
Come to share your knowledge, your understanding, and your Nigerianness with us on Weekend Deal. It's time for Sights and Sounds of What We're still talking elections and the hangover.
So the 2023 general elections was laced with great expectations and enthusiasm. Thankfully, it is a thing of joy that the elections were successfully conducted amidst the country's many challenges. Aside the serious business of vote casting at polling units, the gubernatorial elections in Lagos did not end without the side attractions and activities which usually characterize the undying spirit attitude of Lagos residents. While at it, these young men revealed that their presence on the street went beyond just cashing fun, but were ready to ward off any criminal activity that may mar the electoral process in their domain.
When you see them playing their games and sitting around and exercising themselves like this and watching, they are watching the three booths around. In case of any interception from outside, you understand? We'll make sure it doesn't work out. We are protecting our votes than just sitting idle. Because normally when you can't stay by the side too close to the polling station. Are you getting it? And that's exactly, if you see where the polling station is and you see where the table tennis board is, it's at the junction. We're monitoring about three different junctions and almost 5 different polling booths.
Although the exercise witnessed pockets of violence in some areas, many respondents agreed the process was a commendable effort.
That the election was free and fair election, and it was conducted openly. There is nothing like maybe someone wants to steal the ballot paper or stealing of ballot box. It went successfully.
Since the first election that youths are really participating in mass, and like I mentioned earlier, for me not to get my PVC, it really made me sad. I really wanted to vote, but then I was really looking out for other people, so I just think that this is the time for them to make it count.
With the announcement of results by INEC came more celebrations and fanfare among the victorious parties. While speaking on the outcome of the election, this political analyst pointed out some factors that influenced the voting patterns of residents in the state.
There were the issue of ethnicizing of issues, bringing religion and all those stuffs into a religion and ethnicity and all that. Whether we like it or not, those are fault lines along which a lot of us in this country still vote. My prayer now is that after the victory, let us go back and correct to do the work. We know that all those things were just things people threw into the fray to win election.
On their expectations from the new leadership, respondents are unanimous in their demands.
Nigerians don't ask for so much. They just want the basics. Good infrastructural, facilities will be in place, education, healthcare. These are the things Nigeria requires, and security most especially.
He now is like our father. So let him do what we have been crying for. He has done, but let him do more.
I paid 11,000 out to Agbo. They deliver, they collect like 7,000 or 8,000. Then the little one I have is just the one I will use to buy fuel. If government can scrap them out, I will be happy.
Pray that Baba will change things all around. The last man issue, we are dying seriously, and we so much appreciate that they seize them off for like 2-3 weeks now. We can even, in fact, I'm really happy, and we are working all around in peace.
It is hoped and believed that the aspirations of the masses will be met by the new administration at various levels of governance in the country. Only then can we uphold the tenets of democracy and restore the confidence of the followership in the new leadership.
It has been generally agreed that we articulate the qualities of a leader that is in the throes of performing excellently well. There's something that cannot be taken away. He or she must be reminded constantly that they are there to serve. So they are actually servants of the electorate and not vice versa. I think with that, it will be easy to hold many accountable. It's time for us to see what Tete brings forth. He was on the heels of many who were jubilating. Tete, please share.
that participated actively in the just concluded elections, the voting process was quite a challenging ordeal. But it was nothing compared to the crippling tension and anxiety as voters and their chosen contestants waited with bated breath for the results to be announced. Time seemed to slow down as candidates reflected on the journey and the experiences therein it took to get thus far. Then, the results were announced. Sounds of jubilation erupted from all corners of the country. In the city of Kaduna, Ubasani was declared winner at about 9 p.m. March 20th, 2023. And after that moment, after a short speech expressing his deep gratitude, it was a celebration for him and his supporters. Even the women folk weren't left out. Also was the case in Benue, when Hyacinth Alia, a Roman Catholic priest, won as the governor-elect of Benue State. Avid supporters stormed his residence to express their joy and also to celebrate his victory. The supporters of Alex Oti, winner of the governorship elections for Abia State, not only took to the streets of Umuahia in celebration, but theatrically had a burial procession for the death of the opposing party. In Kano State, Abba Yusuf was declared the winner of the governorship elections, and it was a non-stop celebration into the wee hours of the night. However, for every win, there is a loss. And for those who lost at the elections, they have already started forwarding their complaint through the appropriate channels. Also is the unsettling tension in the sensitive areas in fear of the disruption of peace and civility by aggrieved people. But in all this, deep down, it is every Nigerian's wish that all grievances in the just concluded elections are settled peacefully and all sentiments of religion, tribe, and class are done away with, and everyone joins hands to forge a stronger, better Nigeria, because a unified Nigeria will always be the ultimate win.
Ayuba, you've gotten to the very essence of it. What we want is peace, progress, development. We want to do it as we are together. The authentic deal, weekend deal, will be up again tomorrow, bright and early, ready to take off with you at 7. From all of us here, it's bye-bye.